And what is Maxar? Not at all known in Linköping, I would say, but I hope you can spread the word that it's a cool space company that has come down from high altitudes down to Linköping now. So I thought I should start with just a sort of an overview of Maxar. So this is the Marcom people giving the reason for Maxar's existence. Hope this works.
At Maxar, we turn big ideas into successful missions. Missions that address change on Earth and power exploration into our solar system and beyond. As a partner to innovative businesses and more than 50 governments, we've been building advanced technology since humans first began exploring space. And since we first started looking at Earth from above. Maxar space infrastructure capabilities harness the promise of space for programs like in-space robotics to explore distant surfaces, power and propulsion systems that will push us farther into the galaxy, and communication satellites that provide connectivity across the globe. As a leader in Earth intelligence, Maxar offers situational awareness to protect national security and empower soldiers on the ground. Satellite imagery products sourced from our industry-leading constellation, and location analytics that use machine learning and analyst expertise to monitor and detect change. From the images in the navigation app on your phone to the satellites that connects that phone to the internet, Maxar solutions connect Earth and space to make information accessible and insights actionable, all for a better world.
Don't know how to get rid of that one. Anybody knows?
Tycker du den svarta där eller?
Yep.
Det går att ta tag och dra i den och placera den på ett annat ställe. Ska det göra. Fast den är alltid i vägen. Får man lägga det redan för.
Tycker grön. Och min grön bara.
Jag tror inte man kan bli av med den faktiskt.
Okay, that's great. Good choice. Fine with that. Of course, Maxar Sweden. Maxar is a publicly traded on Nasdaq and Toronto Stock Exchange. About 4,500 employees, almost all of them in the US. As you saw, they're producing satellites, communication satellites, and Earth observation satellites. And we also operate the 4 best commercial satellites in electro-optical space. So having resolution from 30 centimeter to 48 centimeters with these 4 circulating above. Here on between 650 and 780 kilometers altitude, taking pictures, and as I said, 30 centimeters to 50 centimeters. So if you are outside eating, it can be seen that you're eating a pizza, but not what kind of pizza. So it's kind of cool. But in Linköping, we are trying to produce the globe in 3D. So that is our vision, and what we try to do. And just to give you also a little movie here to start this off. We skip the elevator music. So we are from these satellites, from the archive where all the satellite images are stored, we are producing 3D. And It's now around 125 petabytes large, this archive. It's a huge big data problem as well, moving pixels around to get the 3-meter absolute accuracy. We are using multi-view stereo, taking all pictures that are taken a picture of a certain area, puzzle them together with stereo correlation into a 3D mesh representation, textured 3D mesh. And on top of that, we can derive different features for different applications. I will go into that more later on. So for example, given that this type of 3D surface model, we can find the houses or buildings, and we can find the vegetation, and we find the ground. So we can make a bare earth model of the ground called DTM. And then, of course, we have can produce an orthophoto, so perfectly aligned from straight lines from above. And then we can take the buildings we detected as vectors and put them back on, and the vegetation and put that back on. And this is a representation that, for example, telecom wants to optimize a base station. In some cases, resolution is not enough, so you send out a drone to get higher resolution. The drone images is not that well positioned in the world. Really good reconstruction locally, but we use our foundation data to position it in the world. So here you can go down to sub-centimeter resolution, but it could be off 50 meters in the world, but then we can correlate that into the 3D representation and get both accuracy and high resolution. Same technology is used to produce this 3D as for the satellite. For another drone capture, you can see that it's bumping around here to the right, and we can stabilize it. And this is quite a typical scenario where you have a very zoomed in full motion video from a drone that it jumps up. But we can stabilize that and give it the accuracy. Have it up here. So that is what we are doing. So we are doing image processing for the 3D reconstruction. We are doing machine learning AI for extracting the buildings, roads, ground, vegetation. Come into that as well in a few seconds. And then we are. And why didn't you move? So, and in Sweden, we are currently about 65 people employed and about 25 contractors. So we are a bit high on contractors. So we are looking for people as well if somebody out there wants to apply for something. We are producing about 2 million square kilometers a month, and Sweden is about 450,000. So 4.5 Sweden per month is produced. So we are building out the globe in a reasonably fast manner. And the big data farm we have, so we do this on-prem. We can do it in the cloud environment as well. But as we are producing 24/7, the price is a bit too high to run it in Amazon, for example. That's last time I shouldn't go in on prices. It's expensive. We can take that offline. But the algorithms, the environment works in a cloud environment as well. About 90 people working with the quality control, and we have, I don't know actually, I think we have about 1,200 blade servers running in the data center. A little bit different generations of the blade servers. So each geocell, that is 1 degree latitude, 1 degree longitude, about the size of a Östergötland, and that takes about, for one quality control specialist, about 40 hours to do quality control also. it's pretty fast, efficient production. And currently we have, if I remember correctly, 38 million square kilometers produced. So, and the total land mass, excluding the poles, is 135. So we have built more than 1/4 of it, or about 1/4. And commercially, political interest is maybe 60 million. So we are getting there. Aim is to have everything built out till early 2023. History, and I have put Rikon on this slide as well because that was our previous name. Started at Saab with the target seekers, different other 3D and stereo reconstruction. Tracking soccer players real time was one of them. Fun project. Free flow road toll system was another one, measuring length, height, and width of cars in all speeds. And then we went into the mapping, so starting off with airborne collects, which turned out to be reasonably good. And at 2008, we Saab spun out a company called C3 Technologies, which was a great success. Found actually, I hired Tommy Johansson to make a business plan for C3 for civilian use of rapid 3D mapping, which was the name at that time. He never came back with a business plan, but he came back with a customer, and that was the start of C3 Technologies. So that was a great success. And 2011, it was divested. So Saab, as the main owner, realized that this was on the consumer market, which is not their focus. And another main owner, Norwegian pension fund, wanted to close that fund. So 3.5 years later, it was divested. The fastest billion krona exit in Swedish history. So that was a big success for the owners and for the technology. Meanwhile, I was in the board of C3 during this time. We did also start the business development on the more defense side. So Saab kept all the rights from the defense and military side. So they sold the cookie and kept it. And we started to discuss using satellites because we realized pretty fast that not a lot of pilots that wanted to fly over Afghanistan or Syria or North Korea to collect imagery. So satellites was preferred, and also to be able to build the globe, you need a bigger potential for tasking and collection. It took a while till Rikon was founded, or the paperwork was done. So Saab and Digital Globe at that time, later Maxar, formed a joint venture agreement called Rikon that started in 2015. And in that agreement, Maxar had the option to buy Saab's shares after 5 years, which they exercised last time. Now we have been fully owned by Maxar. We are Maxar. So space has come down to Linköping. Skip these ones. 3D, is that important at all? Why is it important? I should say also that Rikon was cash positive after about 1.5 years. Had a revenue of about $53 million 2019. So it has been a commercial success as well. This is one explanation. If you look at, take that one, 30-meter elevation model. And this was actually a planning session, Special Forces in England. They were planning to drive on so somebody else sees it, on this road, getting up on this plateau. discussing which terrain vehicle they should use. And then we looked at our 3D map with a lot higher elevation data. And of course, it's more a matter of the length of the road than which vehicle to use. So to get to situation awareness, it is extremely important to know the third dimension. The globe is, or the reality is not 2D, it's 3D, or maybe 4D. Production process is that we use all images. We decide on an area, look in the archive, all available images up to a certain vintage is used to build a foundation data, 3D mesh model. And from that one, we can extract sort of other data product. Digital surface model is in raster format, so X, Y, and the value is the Z. We can generate that in 3D in different formats. And also this DTM product, the bare earth model. Everything aligned. So everything is from the same source. So all data is aligned. And so this is a typical scenario, Miami, I think. So here is the point of interest. Here is the line is the direction to the satellite. And here is a projection of the images on the ground. And so all images are sort of tuned to fit together on the ground. And then you can see that the houses are leaning in different directions, and especially the high rise here. So that leaning is totally linear with the height of the object. And from that's this stereo correlation with all these images, which could be 10 or 15 or 100 images that we use in the stereo correlation. We can build the 3D model. And as we build it from the same images as we get the texture from, we can texture it also. It's not only elevation, it's also texture. If we have that. Have to click there. If we go into the archive and look for the metadata of the archive, where are the images taken? So which area? We can look at the cloud coverage. We can look at the angles between the satellite. Seasonality, is it good to mix winter images in Sweden with summer images? And do an estimate of the number of images that we can use in the stereo calculation. And what is magenta, blue, and green in this one is then very feasible to get the 3-meter accuracy we are striving for. If we have black, it's not enough imagery. It's more or less no stereo pairs available. And that is typically around the equator, a lot of clouds, and up in southeastern China. So these areas are notoriously bad in terms of coverage. There are a few places in the Middle East, and that is due to Maxar selling minutes on the satellites to some countries. And these images never passes the archive for Maxar. So it's not that it's weather there, it's requests from other customers. But you can see that almost the whole globe is possible to build. So here we have the typical example. So the lower image here is a photo taken in Yosemite Valley on the Half Dome. And here we have tried to place a virtual camera in the model. And you can see that it's very looking alike, the model-wise and the camera, the real image. Weather might be better virtually. Otherwise, it's the same. And as I've said, you have the absolute accuracy 3-meter spherical from 700 kilometers. We have a resolution of 50 centimeter in our model, and it's the same all over the place, almost, except for the cloud belts we just saw. So this is the product we have. Once again, click there. I take 5 minutes on the machine learning extraction of features from the 3D model. So it starts off with a classification, and this is typically what the classification looks like then. We have textured 3D mesh to start with, and then we extract bridges, roads, buildings, vegetation, bunch of different ground classes, and so on and so forth. Using a standard UNet, I would say, initialized by a ResNet or an ImageNet. And then we use a GPU on site for the training, and execute everything. All interferences is done on our big cluster, mostly in USA. We have a little brother or little sister here in Sweden as well for R&D and sample production. Annotated data is more or less painted, first by summer interns, and then later we have bought this service from India. So people are sitting and drawing features on top of a true ortho combined with a NDVI layer combined with a DSM layer. So they have data as an input to make this training data. Should stay there. We have now probably 30 classes in training data using an Ensemble Network. So we are extracting 13 classes or 20 classes in 3 or 3 of them, and then we are buildings has been the most important features to extract. We have different network for just buildings, and they have just a binary output, yes, no. And then we have another layer which also is trained for merging this ensemble. And currently we have about 2,000 fully annotated patches, which is 1 square kilometer each. And so each one is 2,000 by 2,000 pixels. And we still don't know whether it should be one network or it should be several for different places on the globe. Accuracy totally now is 34%, and this was actually half a year ago, so it might be better now. Buildings precision 90% and recall 93%, so it's really good values. Railway is less good, but that depends on the coverage in the training data. We don't have enough training data for railways yet. And one other feature we tried to do is to extract road networks. We realized that there was a lot of breaks due to overhanging foliage. So we created a new class and trained on that one as well, which is vegetation over road. So you can see here how the road network actually grows substantially with that feature also. So we can use that when we extract road networks. And you can then say that OpenStreetMap exists. There's a lot of good data in OpenStreetMap, and it is. Some data is not that good in OpenStreetMap, and there's no way to know whether it's good or bad. We really need this for validation. From that classification, where we found ground points, we can extract the bare earth. So we use that as a foundation, or a lot of applications use that as the foundation. So this is more or less a 2D map then. And we are currently using an AI-based technology for finding the DTM as well. Buildings, This is the output from the network. So you can see that it's pretty good. We have not a lot of primitives, but we have rectangles and circles. And there are house shapes that doesn't fit, that needs a lot of rectangles and circles. But it's good to have not that many base vectors. So, and this is to show the progress we had. And with more training data, a little bit tuning of the algorithms, we can see that we find substantially more buildings. So this is work in progress. We have reached very far the last half year on building footprints. One of the customers we have is the World Bank that tries to start up the economy in different African countries. One of the ways they can do that is to get people to pay tax. And buildings property tax is one way. But they need to know what properties there are to be taxed. Also a little bit of people counting in this population counting. So we will deliver building footprints to some African countries. And also telecom for radio propagation is using these primitives for 2.5D buildings. So this is, and this example, the last one is more for simulation and training. So you start off with the DTM with footprints on the ground. Yeah. And then you can put the buildings back as first level of vectors. And then you can start to do some more a priori on top of that. So now it's polygons that are in the buildings. And then you can text to the building, so you can put fine tuning of that one, sort of not geo-specific, but geotypical textures of these. And you know the height of the building, you guess that it's 4 floors and put 4 rows of windows, but extremely high quality on the texture. Okay, I think I'm done there. We'll run a samples, if I find them. To that one. Oh. Can just be in the background. So I'm open to questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I was wondering, so the 3D reconstruction was based on multiple images, stereography, but how do you deal with the fact that the images are taken at different time points, or things that won't ever look the same, like the sea, for example?
So yes, the sea or water in general needs to be treated separately. It's a really good question. So in the production process, we do detect water and we flatten water. So water really never goes through the 3D reconstruction. We do that based on multispectral data. And then also the quality control includes to find a more exact shoreline. I would say that the automatic algorithms find water in 98%, 99%, but then there are adjustments that need visual eye. Usually take the example of a river in Africa. It could be 200 meter wide in wet season, and you drive on it in dry season. So yes, it changes a lot. Algorithms are working more or less like voting. So there's a majority vote if what the output will be. If images are collected during a construction, So you can even go from one building, tear it down, and build up a new one. There will be some ghosting effects of that one. So that's something we have in our product spec, that we can't handle that due to time variations.
What about vehicles, for example? I imagine two different vehicles might look very similar to an algorithm and try to.
So I would say vehicles on the road will be washed out, because the road will be the majority vote. Vehicles on a parking lot might appear, but still they are within the 3 meter spec.
Can you measure things underwater too?
On the water, we could measure things if they are stable, static.
Not under the water.
No, we have seen in really clear water, we have been able to estimate the sort of the bottom, but that's really exceptions. There are techniques using multispectral because different wavelengths goes further down in water to that work, which have been shown to work in some situations in clear water as well. So ocean, never in Baltic Sea.
Continuing the theme, like what type of spectra? So I guess it's optical, but I heard there's also like infrared and like radar interferometry, which can get good. Like, are you looking at that? So in the case of these satellites, it's silicon that is a substrate on the actual photoreceptor, if you like, as in the camera. So they go a little bit into near IR. So we're using near IR because that's sensitive for chlorophyll. So we have that as a for classification of forests and vegetation. Really big difference in if you look at these plastic soccer fields compared to real grass. So that is so there is a shortwave IR sensor on one of the satellites from Maxar, but not a lot of real thermal up in space. Interferometry SAR, yeah, we have looked to it, but we haven't used it yet. I think it should be good with the weather.
It's better with clouds, and it could be used for filling in the holes in the cloud belt. Absolutely, not there yet though.
So you mentioned that maybe 2023 you will be 3 meter. Much the interesting part of the globe.
Yeah.
Is that it? Done, or what's your next?
If the globe doesn't change, we are done. It does, and then there are tons of applications on top of this. Saab had a press release about 1.5 weeks ago on GPS denied or GNSS denied navigation. So that's one typical example of what you can use it for. Then you can correlate in your sensor image if you have a camera on board, and well-calibrated camera, and then the thing you move is the position of the airframe, and to get the position, and then you can get the position if you see the ground, and you can also detect if you are spoofed, for example. That is clear that Russian have big regiments doing just spoofing and in GPS denial. So where Putin goes, the GPS is not with him. So you take a picture of Kremlin, and you look at where it is from your phone. It will be in the airport out 50 kilometers away. When he went down to Crimea, the ships in the Black Sea was disturbed because GPS was not working. So it can be used for GPS denied positioning. Just one example.
Is there any sort of value higher resolution global? Higher than 3 meters?
Better than 3. Yeah, we are aiming at. We are aiming to 1 meter accuracy. I think with more and more images and a bunch of control points, I think we can reach that in not 2023.
Right. Sure.
But probably 2 meters. More questions? Anything in the chat?
Nothing in the chat, maybe a question here?
Yeah, sorry.
I was wondering, so how long, like how many weeks of satellite data or months, years, or days is required in order to achieve this production resolution? Do you look back like a year or?
Where are you on the globe? Are you in Pyongyang, in North Korea? Probably 3 days. If you are I'm from Vingåker, 1.5 hours north of here, that would probably be 5 years. It's all based on interest.
Well, Pyongyang, there you have that famous hotel that doesn't exist.
Yeah, this is the Chinese ghost hotel, correct?
Favorite object for satellite people.
Yep.
Removed from any official photographers in Pyongyang. So there was snow mowing on one of the mountains.
So it was
Snow falling down the slope.
yeah, there might have been some simulation on top of
Yeah.
of the 3D data. There are probably some clouds moving as well in some of the images.
Oh yeah, trattles as well. The snow was very discreet in one corner of the spotted.
Yeah. No, it's used in the flight simulator for Gripen, for example, where they want to replicate the true environment more than just the true environment. The atmosphere is there as well, which is a problem for us if we talk about what we have to take care of.
A bigger problem for you if we remove this.
Yep. So clouds in this model is not there. It's in the
I
visualization.
think it's there. Yeah, there the snow is falling to the right. Yeah. But you also had this drone stabilization imagery that you showed in the beginning. So then you do not deliver data because that would be pointless. You actually deliver operational software to some customers.
So we have edge deployments, yes. So either it could be in the ground station to enhance the metadata of the video sequence, or you actually have it up in the drone.
So these contracts for B2C and B2B and B2G. The technology and maps from C3 it's still used mainly for consumer use. But what if a government or military would use those maps? Would that be a breach of the contract?
Yes,
How interesting.
it would.
And you said that the 2 million square kilometers per month. Was that how much you actually produce or how much you recorded?
Production.
Yeah.
3D production.
Yeah. Do you actually most of your collected data go into production, or are the satellites mostly moving around, not sending down data?
No. I mean, so satellite operation is something. You can view this as images from the archive. Mm-hmm. And then you have satellite operations on top of that, who tasks and collect the imagery, and that's a lot more, lots more than 2 million. I don't know. So I mean, so the way they work is that if the sun is over there in that corner, so they are rotating around the globe, taking pictures on the right side, and then comes back up again through the dark side. And when they come back about 90 minutes later, the globe the Earth has rotated a little bit. So they go in a new swath to take new images. So they are operating constantly, not taking that much images of water.
But it is, I mean, is all the land imagery actually even transmitted on to Earth, or is it just now and then they?
Nah, most of it is transmitted down. So there is still a bottleneck on ground stations, but it's not that bad. I would say, well, I don't have the numbers, but my guess then is around 60%, 65% is transmitted down.
The fraction of that is what you actually go into your production. How much of that is new areas and how much is update of areas?
This was new area. So then we have an additional one that is update. Yeah.
Do you own the satellite? Maxar?
Maxar owns these 4 satellites, yes. Only Max, yeah, well, US government has a good share of them for upgrades. Now Maxar owns them, but the government can sort of have bought about half time on 3 of the satellites. There are another 6 satellites planned for next year. So 2 will be launched in Q2 and 4 in Q4 as the plan is now. Legions of 2 of the 2 first ones will go on this sun synchronous orbit, and the 4 next ones will go around the equator, where it has been seen that most images are sold around the Middle East or back in South Chinese Lake.